Check it out, can you see it over there? It's a bald eagle, or Haliaeetus leucocephalus, and these are some amazing birds. Oh, there goes another one right there. These eagles live all across North America, but they're really common here in Cascadia, with an estimated 70% of their population living between British Columbia and Alaska alone, which is a ton of birds. In fact, the world record for the most of these eagles ever seen in any single location is over 3,700 and happened right here in Squamish, BC, which makes this an amazing place to come check out these beauties in action. So grab your binocs, and let's have a look. The bald eagles are the biggest birds native here in North America, and they're part of the genus Haliaeetus, or sea eagles, which are some of the oldest eagles in the world and are characterized by their dependence on the ocean or water in order to survive. Here in North America, bald eagles live almost everywhere, from the deep south up the east coast, through the Great Plains in the Midwest, although they tend to grow the largest right here in Cascadia. They live to be about 20 to 30 years old in the wild, weighing up to 6 kilos, standing about 1 meter tall, and with the wingspan that can be wider than 2 meters, which is, wider than the average person's arm span, so that's pretty huge for an eagle. They're really iconic and super easy to identify by their brown bodies and white heads, although as juveniles they tend to take on a more mottled brown look to them, which often gets them confused for other birds like migratory golden eagles where the populations overlap, although golden eagles have feathers that go all the way to their feet, whereas bald eagles stop about halfway, so bald leg, bald eagle, it's an easy way to tell them apart. These juvenile birds often tend to look a lot bigger than the adults because they have more feathers, more down plumage that makes them look a lot puffier than they are. But once they reach about 5 years old, they reach sexual maturity, at which point they trade that mottled brown body for an all brown body and a white head, white tail that we know and love today, with the females being about 1/3 of the size larger than the males. At this point, they find a partner, they build a big old nest up in some tree by some water somewhere, rear some young, and mate for life. It's pretty cute. As a sea eagle, bald eagles eat a lot of fish, which makes up over 50% of their diet, the rest of which is comprised of aquatic birds and small little rodents and other mammals. They have this really cool beak that's specialized with this downward pointing tip and serrated edges that just cuts through flesh like butter knives. It's pretty gnarly. From an evolutionary perspective, they're also incredibly strong with the ability to fly with objects up to half their body weight. They swoop down from the sky, plunge into the water, grab a whole squirming fish in their talons, and take it off to a beach or some tree somewhere to feast. It's a pretty crazy sight to see, and it takes a lot of skill to do. I guess you could say that these eagles are pretty talented. Talented, get it? Yeah. Anyway, bald eagles are really strong and they love fish, right? Well, here's a pretty crazy story. About 50 or 60 years ago, humans were using a lot of DDT, which is a chemical herbicide used in agriculture, and this was running off from the fields into the streams and creeks and rivers and lakes and down to the ocean, polluting all the fish that these eagles were eating. This in turn made the shells of the eggs that the eagles were laying much more thin and fragile, so fewer eagles were being born. This, combined with habitat loss from human development, led for the population of these eagles to plummet to critically endangered levels, which means they were at risk of going extinct. But then, 40 years ago, we banned the use of DDT, and big groups like the Audubon Society, down to little nonprofit groups like Eagle Watch here in Squamish, got together and started protecting all this eagle habitat, and now we have populations that are booming to numbers we've never seen before. So it's a pretty awesome story about not only the resilience of these eagles, but how everything is so interconnected and how we as humans need to treat our streams, rivers, forests, and everything in the natural world with much more care and respect. And while bald eagles prefer to get their salmon fresh from the water, they're opportunistic feeders, which means they're not above scavenging a dead fish on the shore or a dead animal somewhere, or even eating human trash, so it's important to pick up after yourselves. They're also incredibly skilled hunters in the air and have been known to take out other birds mid-flight, as well as drones that get too close to their feeding grounds, their nest, or just encroaching on their airspace. So leave the drone at home and instead pick up a sweet pair of binocs like this, or maybe a sweet telephoto lens that you can use to get some close-ups and planet Earth shots that are going to make all of your fellow nature nerd friends super jealous. While bald eagles aren't migratory birds, as in they don't travel south every year for winter, they have been known to travel regionally and seasonally depending on food availability. It's not uncommon to see them congregating around rivers, estuaries, or even little tributaries like this as different species of salmon make their way upstream every year to spawn. It's a pretty amazing sight to see, and not only does it serve as a testament to how important salmon are to these eagles' diets, but the rest of the web of life that depends on them. Unfortunately though, that spectacle is becoming more and more rare these days as human development and actions have led to fewer and fewer salmon returning home every year. The Squamish River, though, still has a relatively healthy run of salmon, so it's an area where you can still see that web of life at play, as well as serving as an example to what's possible throughout the rest of Cascadia if we rehabilitate and treat our rivers with more care. As these eagles follow the salmon as they swim up the mighty Squamish River to the Mamquam, the Ashlew, the Ilaho, the Sćwx, and the rest of this incredible river network, there are a ton of great spots to stop and check them out along the way. A personal favorite of mine is at the Eagle Run Viewing Shelter right on the Squamish Dike, where the eagles gather by the hundreds, and you can check them out and learn all sorts of different information about them, as well as where to see them best, all conveniently located under a nice little rain shelter. Now you're going to hear these eagles way before you see them with their shrill, unique call that's kind of like, but like way better and louder because they're eagles and I'm just a guy, a human trying to speak eagle. I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress. Now, these eagles need to eat 1/10 of their body weight every day in order to survive the winter. So this is a crucial feeding time for them, and it's important that you respect their distance by giving them space, staying on trail, and keeping your dogs on a leash, because if these eagles are disrupted and they lose any of those precious nutrients, they become really sick and very illegal, you know? So therefore messing with them is pretty illegal to do. Get it? Illegal? These bird puns are terrible, I'm sorry. Oh, that's Ralph, he's hilarious. He says that bald eagles are bald because they don't have hair, they have feathers. And whether they're hanging out on the river, eating a dead salmon, or just chilling in some trees, these birds of prey are some spectacular animals to watch. So if you have a chance to get out to Squamish, BC, I 10 out of 10 recommend checking them out, because bald eagles sure are neat. Oh, dang, what a beauty. If you're enjoying these videos, feel free to subscribe to my channel below, or just keep watching to keep learning, because the more you know, the more fun you're going to have next time you're outside in nature, enjoying it. Sure is rad out here. There's so much green, you know? I've never seen this much green before.